This is the Living in Mid-Bloom podcast, lighthearted and heartfelt conversations about what it looks like to live, heal, and blossom in middle age. I'm your host, April Pruitt. Let's get our bloom on. In this episode, I talk about emotional difficulties and suicide. Please do not listen to this episode if you believe any of these subjects may trigger you. The contents of this episode is not intended to be a substitute for professional advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek guidance from your healthcare professional. Hello, mid-bloomers. It's been a while. I hope you're all doing well and being kind to yourselves. So I want to give you just a little update on me before I start talking about the episode. I've been struggling with depression and haven't been getting a lot of stuff done. So now that I'm feeling better, taking better care of myself, I'm back to doing the things I love. And one of them is podcasting and sharing my story. I'm going to read something that I found online a few days ago. I don't know who wrote it, but it really spoke to me. You're not healing to be able to handle trauma, pain, anxiety, depression. You're used to those. You're healing to be able to handle joy, to accept happiness back into your life. Now, I say that speaks to me because it's true that I do struggle with accepting the fact that I get to have joy in my life. And I just want to share that message. So let me start just talking about my interview today with my guest, Alia Jamal. And this was done several months ago. Like I said, I've gotten behind on a lot of things, but Alia helps professional women unlock their deepest levels of inner peace by helping them reach unprecedented levels of self love, which we all need. Hope you enjoy this show. Hi, Alia.
Hi, April.
How are you
So
doing?
to be here.
Oh, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here. And I love how we connected. It's as usual, there's a connection, but I always forget how did we connect? And I know it was something on LinkedIn, I think that I responded to.
Yeah.
Something that you had either written or you had done one of your short videos. But it just spoke to me and it just felt like and you're the one that reached out to me, I think, once I made a comment about it. But let's start off with, where are you from? I know that you're living in New Jersey now and you were living in Kansas City, Missouri. Where were you born? And tell me about your family.
Sure. I was born in Pakistan and I came to US when I was 16 and my family immigrated here coming in right after 9/11. I came on September 28th.
Oh,
So
wow.
what I have heard from other people, like, US used to be different, but I don't know how it used to be before. So I have just seen the
Oh,
the after version of it. And there was a lot of fear and I didn't have any friends. And being a 16-year-old, losing all your friends, not being able to speak the language, culture shock, like it was a compound effect.
cannot imagine that.
Even sometime I look back and I'm like, I have no idea how you did it, Alia, but you did it.
Yep.
That just
Yep.
shows how expanded we are as human. And when
Hmm.
we are put in those situations, then we can connect with all of ourselves or different parts of us. And I'm the youngest in six of us siblings.
Did
Well,
everybody
I
come
was
over at the same time? Did the whole
no, we
family come?
all came at different time because some siblings were studying higher education. I was right at a point where I was switching from high school level to going to college level. So it was a good time for me to come. But when I did come, my nieces and nephew, they were little. So I had company with them. It was fun. One thing that I noticed once I came to US, yes, there were people who think you're different, but then there were some people who were just so warm and welcoming. And I took a world religion class in high school. And where I am today, I think that was like the first domino impact at that
Wow.
time. that there was something available. My history teacher said she also teaches world religion. And I said, I want to take that class. And she said, well, we never had a Muslim speaker because we never had a Muslim in town.
Oh my gosh.
So I said, okay, I'll be a Muslim speaker. And in my broken English at that time, somehow I was able to explain. But in that explanation, I realized I don't even know my own religion. And the kids,
Mm.
they asked some very deep, curious questions. And I was like, I don't even know who I am. That just got me onto a path of learning Islam in my early 20s. And by now, I have learned all the religions and the spiritual path I am on. Like there was something in that time, that age, and all the questions that I had. And it also kind of separated me from my siblings because I'm the only one who actually actively went on and studied religion on my own. And I started to dress differently. I started to wear hijab. No one in my family wears hijab. So in early 20s, I
Oh.
remember I was 21. I got into so much trouble with my parents. They thought I was becoming an extremist
Oh.
and they were so afraid for me.
It's interesting that your parents are thinking that when you know that Americans would think that. I mean, that is my expectation of, I'm sorry, some ignorant people that make assumptions because of the way you dress or what you believe in.
Yeah.
And there are extremes in every religion. So the fact that if you're going to make a judgment about that, then you get to make a judgment about someone walking into a church. It's just small minded, and I'm sorry that you had to deal with that. But I also love that as a teenager you were still open and curious and realizing, you know what, I don't even know about my religion. Was your family not religious, or it was?
So, generally, when you grow up in a Muslim country, Islam becomes not just your religion, but culture. So
Hmm.
you kind of absorb it, but no one sits down and study where all these rules and regulations are coming from and why they are here, how they are helping me. We just do things because my mom did it. I was the
Right.
curious one. I wanted to know, Mom, why we pray this way, why we do this. And sometimes my mom would get annoyed.
Just
I
do
just had a and one of the gift that I think I got because I came to US in such a young age. My siblings tell me you are Americanized, whatever that word means to them. I learned I can be whoever I want to be. And I don't think
Oh,
so
wow.
people living in the US or Western world in general realize what a gift that is. Living in Pakistan, there's a box. You have to fit in it. And there is very little room for you to not fit in that box. But
Mm,
here, it's very easy to live outside of the box. You can become whoever you want to be.
true. Very
So I
true.
really enjoyed that into my early adulthood. And that is one way I kind of grew away from my family. Still, like, I'm very close to my family. But if you see all of us together, I look a little different. My interests are a little different. My way of living is a little different, but it also brings inspiration for my nieces and nephew. We have 20 grandkids in our family, so they have one aunt to look up to. Okay, she is different. We
Right,
can do
right.
something different too.
What are the possibilities? And having a curious soul, I think that's a gift because I am too. I am curious about things that I don't understand, or instead of putting up a wall of fear, it's just, well, I want to understand that, and there are things in
Yeah.
myself, like you said, you didn't understand, and it's the same here. And I think at that age, it's such a vulnerable age, but hearing these kids just really just asking questions out of their own curiosity.
Yeah.
So, did you go to college here, or because I'm wondering, here you are learning a new language, you're in a new country. What did you do after finishing high school?
So I by the time I finished high school, I was very fluent in English. So I did go to college and I went to University of Missouri, Kansas City. And then I
Okay.
transferred to New Jersey, Rutgers University here. By that time, like 5 years living in Missouri, me and my sister who's a little older than me, we both have realized we don't really want to live here because it just felt very different. It felt very isolating and the world felt very small. So
Mm,
then we just looked at, okay, we had some friends in New Jersey, New York area. So we're like, okay, let's apply to schools there. So we'll just do our last year over there and then we can get a job here. So that's how we ended up moving to New Jersey. And ever since I came here, this became home somehow. Like, how people look for home their whole life.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
For me, for some reason, Pakistan was never home.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
maybe I left in such a young age that I didn't really make those attachments. For me, at this moment, New Jersey is home.
Oh, that's wonderful to hear. And so
Yeah.
being in Kansas, yeah, I always figured Missouri is really a southern city, even though a southern state rather, even though we're in the Midwest because of a lot of racial issues and like I said, just a lot of ignorance. But I love the fact that you guys said, okay, this isn't going to work. We need to figure something else out. And you did. Well,
Yeah.
so where were your parents living?
So my parents live 30 minutes away from me. They live in Jersey City. That is more of a urban part of northern New Jersey. If you go there, it looks like there's like a Indian part of it, there's a Pakistani part of it, there is a
Mm-hmm.
Egyptian part of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Then there is a
Yeah.
Spanish part of it. So they live in the Pakistani part of it.
So who ended up in New Jersey first then? So you had some family that was there. Were your parents there before you?
We had some friends from Pakistan. Like we used to go to same school in Pakistan. So those friends, their family
Okay.
was here. So they just helped us, like, get our first apartment. And then we moved here. And now that I look back as an adult, will I go somewhere where I don't even have a job? Most likely not. So that was pretty brave of it was my parents and me and my sister who was 1 year older than me.
Okay.
It was four of us who just decided to come here. And that is the first time I think I experienced God making way for you.
Mm.
Like when you just pick up and leave and you're like, this is not working out for me.
Mm-hmm.
And God says, okay, I'll meet you where you are. That was the
Right.
first time in my life because I believe I was what, 19, 20, or maybe 21, like one of those years.
Mm-hmm.
And when that happened, it was just like, wow, that can happen. I think I lived
Yeah,
in Missouri only 5 years. Yeah, 5 years. Yeah.
that's a lot.
Yeah.
I'm still in Missouri, but that's another story.
I still have a sister in Missouri. She likes it there. So my oldest sister, so she's still there.
Okay. The bravery of your family leaving Pakistan, and then I don't want to say it was an easier step, but the fact that in your family there is a motivation to live the life you want. And okay, we're not happy here. Okay, we've got friends and family there and they help you. And I think it's just a beautiful transition and it shows you the importance of community and your faith
Yeah,
and your faith.
that is
Um,
true.
Before we get into the love coach, because I love that you've transitioned your life and made it, I'm sure, with the help of your God, to live the life you want for you, your son, and to help people that are in need, because there are a lot of us in need, that's for sure. You went to Rutgers, and where did you meet your husband?
So I met him online. way back in the day when chat room
Ah,
used to be a thing.
yes, I remember back in the day.
Good that we both are
Yes.
aged enough to know that
Yeah,
existed.
I know. I know.
So when I was 17, I think I was graduating or I was headed towards graduation. My sister, she gifted me, or her husband gifted me, my first computer when they
Oh,
actually used to be very heavy and big, and we
yes.
both know
Oh
how
my
it used
God.
to be.
Yes.
So once I got a computer, I was like, okay, I can actually talk to people. I can talk to my friends back home, because that
Yeah.
time we didn't have WhatsApp. So calling somebody costed a
Right.
lot of money. So I started getting onto these chat rooms because I was really missing, like, connecting with somebody that
Sure.
spoke the same language. So we were in a chat room. We started talking one day, ended up on MSN Messenger. And then one day we started talking more, and then we kept talking. One day we talked for 9 hours.
Oh my gosh.
And then slowly I started to
Oh.
realize, okay, I think we are becoming friends, and we became really good friends. And that he became the person I'll come home to and unload. This is what happened in school. There is a
Mm.
bully there. This is what's happening. And he would, do the same.
Yeah.
He was
Yeah.
sharing. So we kind of started to grow together because we both were 17. Then later on, as time unfolded, which was so serendipitous to find out, my dad and his dad, we were both from the same city.
Oh my
My
gosh.
dad and his dad, way back in the day in 80s, used to work in the same office.
Get
So
out.
they had mutual friends. So when I discovered that, I was like, okay,
Oh my
this
gosh.
this is like, something else.
Right.
And then
Right.
one day he told me he was interested in me, if, like, my parents, like, when they asked me if I like somebody, if I can mention his name. And my family was very open to, because they had 5 girls. I think
Mm.
they just told us, if you like somebody, please let us know. We don't have the time to find somebody for you.
Right.
Because
Right.
generally in Pakistani culture, it's arranged. Parents
Mhm.
find the match for you. So I told my mom when I was, I believe, 18 or 19. I said, there's this guy I talked to, and I would tell her everything. She used to be my best friend. I told her everything, like, this is what he does. This is how many siblings he has. That's how the family is. And she didn't say anything. She was like, you're a teenager. You're going through one of those phases.
Right. Right.
And then we stayed connected. And when I did visit Pakistan, I got to meet him in person, and I really, really liked him when
Oh.
I met him in person. I think that's where the love just kept getting deeper and deeper.
Mhm.
My sisters met him too, and they were like, yeah, he's a good guy. So then I think 7 years later, when I was 25, that's when my parents started getting serious. They were like, okay, you're done with school, you're working. So what are you thinking about your future? Is there a guy? And I was like, yeah, the one I told you about is still around.
Remember
No,
him? My love
yeah,
crush.
nobody could believe, like, we had a long distance relationship of 7 years. So then, I just went to Pakistan, met his family, my family met them, and it was an easy marriage. And then a year later, he immigrated here, and we started a life here.
Oh, wow. When did your dad and his dad figure out that they had worked in the same office?
I knew that his dad used to be is in the same field, the one my dad left back in the day. So when they talked on the phone for the first time, like, when I told my parents and he told his parents, the parents talked over phone. So then they started asking each other, oh yeah, I used to do
Oh,
that, I used to do that. And then they had mutual friends as well.
okay. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm sure that probably made them feel a lot more comfortable too with the
Yeah.
relationship because of
Yeah.
that. Wow.
That is one of the reason. I mean, I don't know if listeners want to know. Right now I am happily divorced.
No, that's that is very important because I have a lot of listeners that are happily divorced. So
Yeah,
believe
but
me,
because of that connection, still our families are very good to each other. When his
that's
mom come
good.
here, when his mom is visiting, I am there for her. I take her for shopping if she wants to go, and sometimes she will ask herself like, I want to go with Alia. So I'm so grateful that we get to have that level of respect and kindness and care and love.
That's so important when you go through something like that. It's stressful, and having your son in the middle of that, it's so good for him too.
Yeah.
Let me ask, how long were you married?
So I was married 10 years.
Okay. And what was it that I know there's a myriad of things that you have to deal with in marriage. It's complicated. It's very complicated. Because you started as friends, I always think that's such a solid foundation that there's
Yeah.
a real friendship. When do you think things kind of turned around or
Just, looking in the retrospect and how I have made peace with it, he did have some substance abuse issues
mm, okay.
that I didn't know they were still lingering. I thought, like, in teenager, everybody tries out stuff and that's it.
Right.
But I think he didn't want it to disappoint me. And I think a lot of spouses do that out of love for the other person and they don't want to lose them. He hid that from me. And that continued on the side. And one secret creates other secrets. And that is when he started connecting with other women. And one day he came to me
Mm,
himself and he said, I cannot lie to you anymore because of the friendship that we had. He said, I am seeing other people, but I'm not leaving them or leaving you. I can't, I don't know how to do that. That was the journey that
wow.
started my growth because in that moment, nothing was real for me anymore because this love that I have had for almost 12 years
Mm-hmm.
is not
Mm-hmm.
real anymore. And he's the person I kind of grew with. I was
Right.
closest to him than my own parents and my family.
You're telling your darkest, deepest secrets to your
Exactly.
friend.
So that is
Yeah.
that is a person who knows my weaknesses, who knows my strength, who knows how to manipulate me the best.
Yes. Yes. You're right.
And I didn't know like how would I ever live? That is when I became suicidal and I
Mm,
decided to take the pills and end this pain because the pain was just
mm,
way too much. And my son
mm-hmm.
was 15-month old. I was completely disconnected. But in that moment, I listened to this tiny voice that said, Google therapy near me. And I
Wow.
Googled therapy near me. And I
Good.
called the first number that came up. I was still standing in the kitchen holding on to the pills, like one hand pills, one hand phone. I
Mm-hmm.
called them. They pick up. I told them what was going on. And they said, do you think you are stable enough that you can wait till tomorrow? Do you trust
Mm,
yourself enough that you will wait till tomorrow and tomorrow we can talk to you? And I said, yeah, because otherwise I think they were going to just call 911 on my behalf and get
mm,
somebody involved.
right.
I said, I think I can wait. So just from that conversation, I got enough strength that I went and I flushed the pills. Not sure if that is the right thing to do, but I did. I was like, even if they're in garbage, if I go crazy, I can go and I can take them out of garbage. I didn't trust
Yes.
myself.
Yes.
So I needed to like, completely destroy them. And then I just waited for the next day. Next day went for therapy. And that just opened a beautiful door of healing for me.
Oh, Aaliyah,
Yeah.
such pain. I understand that pain. I wonder, having a small child, that might have added to your pain and your depression of I
I
can't
I
be
I
here.
believe I was always depressed.
Mm,
I just didn't know that that's what it's called.
okay.
Because I would always have a beautiful smile, but there was a very deep sadness within me all the time. And my mind would be so negative. I just could not think positive. But
Yeah.
if you'll see me on the surface, you'd be like, oh, what a positive,
Right.
happy girl.
Right.
And
Right.
that those were the two personalities I always lived. And that incident became the catalyst that you cannot live like this anymore, Alia.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was God helping me. Okay, you gotta wake up. We need to create
Yes.
congruency within you, and
Yes.
how it's gonna happen. Like, of course, the thing that you love the most. Let's shake things a little bit there, so then you would have no choice but to wake up.
Well, when you see that the world you were living in was not the world you were living in, it's not
Yeah,
what you thought it was.
yeah.
And it's interesting, he says, because of the friendship, he can't lie to you anymore. But then he's not willing to give anything up. And
I think for him, like till this day, we are very good friends. He's remarried now. Till this day, I can see his struggle, and I
yeah,
can accept his struggle, and I understand, like, what's going on, and I can understand how we both have a place in each other's life, plus we have a kid. But I can also see how whatever he said or whatever he did was a gift from him to me.
yeah. He had his own battles,
Yeah,
and he was not in a place that he could have a successful relationship.
yeah,
And I'm so grateful that you're still here, because I feel shame about times when I felt suicidal or you needed to reach out because you're in so much pain. And I'm grateful that you could get in the next day. I know there were times when I lived in DC and I reached out and I saw someone, but to get a therapist to work with, I had to wait 3 months. It was kind of like you're just kind of white knuckling, but I knew I wanted to be here because I made the call and I was willing to wait.
yeah,
And I'm just grateful that God is there, that God is there. And,
yeah.
people can believe, whatever they want. I applaud anybody who feels that they have, whether it's God or however you feel, that you feel supported and that you have a community of people that there's support you. How did your family respond to you divorcing?
So it took from the moment that, he told me that was in 2015. And I filed for divorce 2019, the first time around. And I withdrew my case after 2 months to give him another chance. But the truth is, I still didn't trust myself enough that I can live without him. And then
Mm,
in 2020 is when I really filed for divorce and I went with the case. Initially, his family blamed me, my family blamed me because that is culture.
yeah.
They were like, if your man is going out, that means you don't know how to keep a man. And I was like, well, if keeping a man is so hard, I don't want to have a man.
Right. Right.
But as the time passed, they could see that, she's just suffering now. His mom at one point said, whatever decision you make, we are with you.
Oh, good.
My mom said, whatever decision you make, we are with you. But then the problem was, how do I make that decision?
Mm,
Because generally people can step into anger and they can make the decision from that place when the anger has been so suppressed that it has been depression all my life. I don't even know how to step into anger.
yeah. Yeah.
So then I needed to do so much deeper work before I could even access that energy within me that will make a decision and stay with that decision. And it didn't happen till 2019 when I withdrew my case, and even my lawyer was like, I cannot believe you're doing it, Alia. Like, you shouldn't be in this marriage. This is not good for you. And I said, I know, but I need to do everything that is coming from inside of me. I rather wait another year than have regret
In your time,
in my
I'm,
time. Yeah. So when I withdrew the case, for the first time, I experienced something people call anxiety.
mm,
It was like my body's on fire. I don't know what is happening, but I cannot feel peace. For the first time in my life, I just couldn't feel peace, even in prayer.
Mm.
That is when I was like, okay, we need to figure it out. So that is a time where I would be up till 3 a.m. reading books, listening stuff, looking for answer.
Yeah.
That is when I
Yeah.
found the world of heart. I studied from Drunvalo Melchizedek. He had like, a 300-hour course online all about the front heart, the back heart, and how it connects us with our soul and how it gets
Mm.
closed and how to open it and the mechanism that is built within us. It was just so deep, so beautiful. And I started following whatever he was teaching. And slowly I realized that I was more connected with me. I started to love
Mm.
myself more than I loved him. Like the scale needed to
Oh,
just tip
wow.
one person the other way. And then in September of 2019, one day I was having a solo breakfast with myself. And in that moment, I went, I think I have fallen in love with myself.
Oh my gosh.
And by that time, I
Oh,
had already worked with a coach. I had already finished 4 different coaching certificates. I had become a full pranic healer. I was meditating every day. And right in
wow.
that moment, a voice spoke to me and said, "You are the love coach. You're going to help people connect with their heart." And I was just like, who said that? But I grasped the message because at that time I was doing relationship coaching and I was coaching couples. I was coaching while I had my full-time job. This was like my side hustle or my
Okay.
passion. I
Mhm.
have healed
Mhm.
my life. Let me help who I can do, whether they pay or they don't pay. It was
Right.
that kind of thing. And then all of a sudden, like, a month or two leading up to the end of 2019, I just knew the answer is unconditional self-love. If a couple is not gelling, they don't love themselves.
Yeah.
And when one person will fall in love with themselves, that would open up the heart for the other person and it can change. Like all these things, I started getting these downloads and then I was like, okay, I need to experiment this. Because I have a science background. Everything is about experiments. So I started doing
Mm.
experiments in my own life with other people or whoever I was talking to. And I saw a big shift when a person will fall more in love with themselves. They are being more nurturing. It's shifting their relationship with the other person. Then I think what really shifted my life was in November of 2019. My oldest nephew, he left his body. He passed on sudden. It was like
Mm.
no warning. And that is a child, like, I have
Oh.
changed his diapers. So there was a
Mhm.
different kind
Mhm.
of connection there.
Mhm.
I believe he was 26 when he passed on. That sister lives in Missouri. So the whole family flew in there to be at the funeral. It's one thing to hear about death, but it's another thing when you see a child that you have
Mm.
seen from very young age
Yes.
is a grown man and just laying there.
Yeah. Yeah. A
And when
lot of
I saw that, especially when I saw him on the bottom of the grave, it was like, there's a clock here ticking. Alia, you can leave
oh,
anytime. Are you happy? I said, no, I'm not happy. And in that moment, I said, I will make sure I'm happy.
yeah.
And then I didn't know what that happy means. So that happy meant leaving my career. That happy meant leaving my job. I mean, my marriage. So in February of the following year, 2020, that's when more stuff happened. And I was like, okay, this is it. You can't live like this.
Yeah.
Life is too short to live in pain. Like that
Yes.
sentence I have heard so many times, but I
Yeah.
understood it for the first time. Life is
I
too
know
short to live in pain.
it's so interesting that I know I've heard probably the same things over the years, but until you're prepared to actually listen to
Yeah.
what it actually means and that you're ready to take that step.
My family, to some extent, is still going through grief, but I say he gave me such a beautiful gift.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
every soul that leaves activates rest of us. we are challenged to go more towards our soul growth, connect to our soul,
Hmm.
that deeper light that is within us. And that is the gift he gave me. And I'm forever grateful to him for
Oh,
that.
that's so
Yeah.
beautiful. It's such a beautiful way to see that.
Yeah.
How is his mom doing these days?
She's doing better. She just published a kid's story, a
Oh.
book. Yeah. So of course, in the beginning, it was just a very different kind of challenge. But slowly she started to channel her energy into writing, and she wrote the stories she used to tell her kids when they were little. She used to tell him. She published one of his stories in there too. Right now, she's promoting her book. And one of these days, I'm going to do a Facebook Live with her promoting her book as well. I just got my copy, so now I can show everybody and I can read through that myself.
That's great. Very
So
creative family.
yeah, so she's really stepping into the gift that when we go through that pain, there is always a gift. And what
Mhm.
was the gift? The gift was, okay, now live for yourself, do what your soul came here to do. You have done such a good job raising kids.
Mhm.
So now do
Mhm.
something
Uh,
just for yourself.
yeah, and that's a wonderful way to continue living, not
Yeah.
just being there. When I was, just kind of reading some information and the love coach, I was wondering, where'd she get that name? But I see that name was given to you.
Yeah. And I mean, I have talked to so many experts, marketing experts, and only one person said, Alia, that is very clever. And I told her I didn't come up with it. I was given it. So she understood. She was like, oh, okay.
Mhm.
But everyone else has told me that confuses people, love coaches for dating coaches. One guy even said, you're just trying to be smart, but it's just gonna cost you business. And I was just like,
Uh,
okay, we'll leave.
excuse me. If anybody had watched even just one of your videos, to me, the love coach, the self-love coach, the relationship with friends, with parents, with it's love. That's all it
It's
is.
love.
It's yes.
And for me, my passion is introducing people to energy of love. We all know what
Yes.
emotion of love is, but energy of love is something completely different. And it's not just for myself, for my spouse, for my family, for my friends. It's for my country, it's for my world, it's for humanity.
Yes. Yes.
So that is the level of love. When we embody that energy, the byproduct is inner peace. And how a person stepping into unconditional self-love and connecting with peace helps the world, they elevate the vibration of the whole world.
Mm-hmm.
And more
Mm-hmm.
than ever, we need that right now. We need people, more people who are tuned into that vibration right now.
Yes, yes. You're so right. I've changed, lost relationships, I know, because my vibration has changed.
Yeah.
And doing more inner work and seeing where I was at fault or I wasn't viewing that in, more selfishly than being more open and allowing that person to be. And
Yeah.
it's good work and it can be painful, the reality of who you are. And then, okay, I'm going to let that go and continue to be a more positive human being. And I've found that I've met such incredible people like you that that's all we want to do. And I find it interesting that people are always judging the fact that they're pontificating about the love coach. If it's your lack of imagination that you don't understand that the first
Yeah.
thing I thought of was self-love when I see your videos, and I
Yeah.
think, well, that's everything. There's no mystery here. There's no
True.
hiding behind
And, and,
something.
and I believe no matter who we are, there's a part of us that always want to put others in a box so I can make sense of who you are. And I think it takes being present with yourself in that moment and being able to see you're trying to put a person in a box right now, and no, don't do that. Stay open, stay open.
Right.
That is only when we can see who the person really is. And the path that I have been on, or the path that my soul has chosen, I have burned all the boxes. Even I don't know, there are days even I don't know who I am, and I'm like, we'll
Mhm.
discover.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
We'll discover tomorrow who I am. And if I don't know today, it's okay. Because
Right.
especially when I start to study different religion, the spirituality that I'm studying, and then I look very visibly practicing Muslim, more on the maybe like, orthodox side of like,
Mhm.
practicing Muslim, it doesn't make sense. But why do I have to make sense? I can be
Right.
whoever I want to be.
Right. And people putting others in a box is their own fear. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, okay, this is you. I don't have to try to figure out anything else. I think it's frightening to people for
Yeah.
some reason that if you're not in that, okay, so you're a Christian, that means this, this, and this. Well, no. Well, okay, so you can't believe in science. So, what, it's just, why does that world have to be so small? You know?
Yeah. I keep that in my mind too when I meet other people. There is still that part of me that wants to put people in box, and I have to stay present, and I have to keep reminding myself it's okay
Yeah.
if you don't know anything about
Right.
them.
It's the human condition. That's
Yeah.
how, when you're raised that way, you're always trying to, okay, that thing that comes naturally of judgment and box. And
Yeah.
it's something that you do. You continue to work on it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I'm loving your videos. I love, you're in your car, you're at home, you're eating a hamburger. No, I'm kidding.
Thank you.
They just feel so natural and in such truth. And the ones you've been doing more recently about self-love. So I think those videos have really helped people because
Thank you
you
so much.
the way you say it is so natural. There's not like this kind of confrontation you're having with yourself. It's just, whether it's just breathe, that know you are okay, where you are. The
Yeah.
It's just kind of reinforcing what they should know about themselves.
Yeah. Here's how I do them. When I wake up in the
Yes.
morning and I start my meditation, I just say I am open to what today's message is supposed to be. And then I stay open. And sometime when I drop my son off, that is when I think my mind is open enough that I can receive it. So then I literally just park the car in one of the side streets, and I'm like, let's just record it right now.
Oh, wow.
And I record it right now. I don't try to think. I just tell whoever is up there, we want to say God, guide, soul. I just let the divine bring the message that needs to come through me for the day.
I love that. I
Because
love
when I
that.
try to do something myself, my brain literally goes numb. And it's not like, maybe the best way to run your business. But I usually just stay open, and
Hmm.
a lot of the posts, they just come. It's like a download, and if I can grab a pen and paper right there and then, I'll try to write it down as soon as I can. And to be honest, those are the posts that has brought me a client. One time
Oh,
somebody reached out to me and she said, that post you wrote the other day, it spoke exactly what I was thinking. I want to work with you.
wow.
That's it.
Wow.
So I think when I claim that I do the work of the soul, I help a person connect with your soul and develop that relationship and nurture that unconditional love that can only come from our divine part.
Hmm.
Then I
Hmm.
need to stay tuned into that part of me so I can be the channel, the messenger from the non physical to the physical.
Yes. Yes.
that
It's a
does
beautiful
require a lot of
thing.
meditation and
Yeah.
staying grounded.
Yes, absolutely. It's a beautiful thing. It really is. Something else I wanted to ask you about is the Wonder Girls. Tell me about that.
Oh, that is such a cute program we have here in North Jersey and some part of New York. So there are two ladies, Natalie and Irene. They are friends, and they decided they are going to do a teenage girls empowerment program after school.
Oh,
So they put the whole thing together, the syllabus and everything. And what they have done, they are always looking for mentors. So somebody like me, somebody who's like, really up in their career, and they would be a good inspiration. And we have women like all kind of backgrounds. So then what we do, we will go to a school, maybe around 3 when they are done with the schoolwork, and they will stay an hour later after school. And we would talk about, like the other day, we were doing vision boards with them. So there was a lady, she was leading the workshop, she was doing everything. And me and another person, we were just like, kind of like co support mentors. So
mm-hmm.
I did teach the girls about how when we say I am statement, you're pulling from the energy of your soul that is always around you. So they don't feel imposter saying to themselves,
Mm,
you're
right,
beautiful or I am beautiful when, let's say in that age, we all went through that.
right,
Your face is full of acne and you're like, I
right,
don't feel beautiful.
right,
So
right.
then I was able to share a little bit. And that has been literally a dream
Wow,
come true. I am so grateful to Irene and Natalie for starting that program. And it just keeps expanding. Every year, more schools are being added. They added a local community college to it now.
wow.
So I don't
That's
know how,
fantastic.
yeah, I don't know how it gets funded, but eventually, of course, their goal is to make it national. Right now, I believe we have something like 10, 15 school or maybe even more
Wow.
locally. So it's usually high school, but sometimes it's middle school, eighth graders.
When it's such a vulnerable group, I mean, we
Yeah,
all know when we were that age, but I can't
yeah,
imagine with social media, all this plastic surgery, that all of that being so normalized.
yeah,
So kids that feel, I guess, have a safe space to be themselves instead of
yeah,
worrying about fitting in. But that's, I mean, I know that's the nature of teenagers, but there's so much depression and suicidal thoughts now.
yeah.
Aaliyah, this has been such a great conversation. Really has.
Same here. Thank you
Uh,
so much for this beautiful,
oh,
filling conversation.
well, thank you for just being open and vulnerable and sharing. I love that about you. I'm just glad that we got around to do this because I kept thinking after we had talked, I thought, okay, yeah, I want to have her other plus, want to have her other, and I thought, well, okay, let me just do this. What am I waiting
Yeah.
for? So,
Thank you
um,
so much.
yes, but thank you, and have a beautiful day.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. Thank you for joining me today on Living in Midbloom. I hope you found this episode insightful, meaningful, and maybe it's given you something to think about. I invite you to share your positive reviews or ideas on topics you would like me to touch on by leaving your comments on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Castbox, Podchaser, or Podcast Addict. We are all divine beings who just want to be seen, heard, and loved. Have a beautiful day.